Yo, Shortbox Nation, this is Botter, and I'm here to tell you right now that con season starts early this year with the return of Northeast Florida's premier anime, comic book, and sci-fi event, Collective Con. That's right, Northeast Florida's largest pop culture convention returns for its 10th year on March 8th through the 10th at the Prime Osborne Center in Jacksonville, Florida. 10 years of Collective Con, they're pulling all the stops out to make sure this is a can't-miss event. And the guest list they got going, don't even get me started on the guest list. I mean, they've got A-list celebrity guests and voice actors from some of your favorite movies, anime, and video games like Elijah Wood and Sean Ashton, Ray Park, Trisha Helfer, Ross Marquand, Max Middleman, and Bo-Katan herself will be there, Katie Sackhoff. Tell me what other convention is giving you the opportunity to meet Frodo and Sam from Lord of the Rings, Darth Maul, and One Punch Man all under the same roof. Only at Collective Con. And if you're looking to get some of your favorite comics signed, or if you want to get an original sketch from some of the best comic artists in the world, well, you're in luck, because there'll be plenty of comic and creator guests there, like DC comic artist extraordinaire Clay Mann, Harvey Award-nominated illustrator John Taylor Christopher, Marvel and DC cover artist Chris Stevens, and acclaimed Star Wars author Timothy Zahn. They'll all be at Collective Con this year. And if you're looking to bring the family, or if you want to make a weekend out of it, you're in luck, because there'll be so much going on at Collective Con that weekend in the form of vendors, fan panels, video game tournaments, cosplay contests, after parties, and a bunch of fan events. You can purchase single and 3-day weekend passes now using the link in this episode's show notes, or by going to collectivecon.com to book your tickets and hotel. Buy your tickets now, and I'll see you at Collective Con, March 8th through the 10th. Now let's start the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Shortbox Podcast.
The Shortbox Podcast is recorded live from Jacksonville, Florida.
Yo, Shortbox Nation. Welcome back to another episode of the Shortbox Podcast. And new friends tuning in for the first time, hello and welcome to your new favorite comic podcast. This is episode 340, and I'm your host. My name is Botter Milligan. And today I'm joined by the rest of the crew. We've got the first lady of the Shortbox, Ashley One-Up Lanny Hoy is in the building.
Oh, applause.
Well, already starting.
Well, I mean, that's the nickname I had for you prior to seeing your awesome costume. So it should be Ashley Squid Games Player 101, Lanny Hoy.
I'm today. So excited about this costume.
It looks comfy. It looks comfy.
Very comfy.
I'm going to wear this all week.
And then we've also got your favorite artist. It's Mr. Edmund Danzar. He's also here with us.
That's
too.
some funky corn butter.
And you longtime listeners will certainly notice a distinct lack of Cesar this week. I think he decided to extend his birthday celebration for the rest of the month.
It's my birthday month.
Yeah, because he's a diva. But don't worry, he'll be back soon. And I don't want to go ahead and give Cesar yet another happy birthday as well. Wish him another happy birthday. But on today's episode, man, we're talking about the Eternals. They're a race of immortal beings who lived on Earth and shaped its history and civilization. They are a product from the limitless imagination of comic legend himself, Jack the King Kirby, co-creator of many other iconic Marvel characters like Captain America, X-Men, Avengers, and basically the whole Marvel comic universe. If you have a Pulse or a TV, well, you might know that the Eternals will debut in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with their own self-titled feature film later this week on November 5th. The movie is being directed by Oscar-winning director Chloe Zhao. So if you're looking for a crash course into their comic origin, you came to the right place. But before we go all the way into this cosmic mythology, allow me to share some great news with all of you listeners who live in our backyard and the surrounding area. The Shortbox is doing a live show, baby. We back. That's right. We're getting back on stage to record another episode of the podcast live and in front of a handful of you loyal Shortbox Nation denizens. The show will take place Friday, December 10th at the Museum of Science and History. That's MOSH for all of you Jax locals. It'll be about Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery. It'll be to celebrate the Spider-Man No Way Home movie premiering the following week. So make sure you put that on your calendars. You won't want to miss it. Our live shows have been, we've gotten 2 thumbs up from Ebert and Robert themselves. IMDb scores are out of this world. Tickets will be free. but limited. And you know what? Our Patreon subscribers will get first dibs. I mean, it seems only right to give our most loyal supporters first go at tickets because you know what? There are favorites, all right? We've got our personal favorites, and it's those patrons of ours, all right? But there should be plenty of tickets to go around considering that the show is taking place in the Planetarium, which is huge and fitting considering we've been called the best comic podcast in the galaxy. That's just what we've been called. I mean, I'm not saying I've called us that.
We're going to have a Led Zeppelin light show afterwards. It's going to be awesome.
Have you ever been to Mosh when they do their cosmic concerts?
I haven't been in.
They always. It seems like every year they always do a night dedicated to Pink Floyd's. What's the name of that?
The Wall.
The Wall. Yeah. They always do a night dedicated to that, and it is super trippy and awesome. I highly suggest going under the influence of something strong. But bragging aside, we'll have more information on tickets later this month, so stay tuned to our Instagram and Twitter. Or you can stop being cheap and join the Shortbox Elite and subscribe to our Patreon. There's a link in the show notes to do just that. Help us keep the show going and better. All right, we're trying to continue growing the show, and we could use your help. Ashley will be charging for autographs at the live event. I'm giving you a heads up right now. All right, don't be coming to Ashley expecting any freebies. Exactly. She's one up Lanny Hoy for a reason. All right, so come correct. Bring your wallet, a check, or something like that. Actually, how much you charging for? I don't even want to ask how much you're charging for head sketches.
Oh no, just throw quarters at me.
Oh
Yeah.
Oh my god! Ouch.
Yeah, that's gonna be painful. All right. Anyway, let's get to talking about the Eternals. Our first segment of today's episode will be centered on the first few issues of Jack Kirby's original 1976 run, which was reprinted as a nice, complete collection last year. It's most likely available on most digital platforms and probably at your local comic shop too. Ed, you brought that copy. Actually, you brought that book here today.
Yep, I got the complete collection. It's like $40, but it's like 19 issues in a annual, so it's a pretty good.
Oh wow! I think the whole original 1976 series is just 19 issues.
Yeah, it's the whole series. It's the complete run.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Okay.
It's nice. It's nice to have. It's not. It suffers from a lot of these collections where the colors are pretty
I was just
garish.
about that.
But you know, it's awesome. It's Kirby. It's it's a good thing to have. You know, you can't afford the original art. You know,
no, those original
or the
those
comics.
First, I mean, no surprise. I mean, it's getting a movie, so it bumped up the price.
Oh, yeah.
Like the OG issues. But yeah, anytime I go to my comic shop and one issue's got all of those yellow blocks for the CGC and the consignment, it's like, all right, that's a hot book. But if you are completely unfamiliar with the name Eternals or the original comic series, here's the 30,000-foot view into this cosmic mythology that Jack Kirby not only conceived, but he also wrote and drew alongside inker Mike Royer and colorist Glynis Oliver. The Eternals made their first appearance in Eternals #1. It was published by Marvel Comics in July 1976. They are one of three races created by the all-knowing and all-powerful space gods known as the Celestials. The Eternals are immortal. They possess limitless superhuman abilities, and they were once worshipped as gods and a whole bunch of other mythological deities by humankind. Since their inception at the beginning of mankind, the Eternals have been at odds with their genetic cousins, the Deviants. Think of them as like your badass cousins that would come visit and you'd have to hide all your video games and good toys. They're monstrous, shape-shifting creatures, which is pretty accurate to my cousins, predisposed for destruction and war. I'm kidding. They know I love them.
Skrulls.
These first few issues establish the backstory and lore, of course, as well as introduce key characters such as the Eternals' lead figure himself, Icarus, who will be played by Richard Madden in the movie. We also get introduced to other Eternals like Ajax, Cersei, and Makari, being played by Selma Hayek, Gemma Chan, and Lauren Ridloff, respectively. Storytelling vehicles in the form of two random archaeologists, Daniel Damian and his daughter Margaret, are also in these first couple of issues.
It's Dr. Daniel Damian.
My apologies. That's right. He does make a correction in the
What a
book
cool
itself.
alliterated name. It sounds like a evil
Triple
wizard.
D.
Triple D.
Dr. Daniel Damian and his daughter Margaret, who is in an all-white
Margot.
like tennis. Margaret, thank you.
Margaret?
Margaret?
Did you call?
What did I say?
You said Margaret?
It's Margot.
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 The T is
Oh
silent.
my God, wow. Sorry.
Margaret.
All right, so my first grammar blender, pronunciation blender of the day. I feel like we should have a ticker at this point, you know. Ding. All right, Margot. I'm sorry, his daughter Margot. But we also get introduced to deviants like the devilish Crow. He makes his first appearance in these early issues. And of course, the Celestials make their debut in Marvel Comics lore. Readers get to meet the stoic and towering Arishim. Is that how you say him? Arishim, the judge.
Something? Yeah.
Yeah, something. I get a pass for that one. Even Ed can't.
Yeah,
pronounce it.
Arahim. Yeah.
I think he'll be making an appearance in the movie as well, based on the trailer. He's the big, giant, red robot-looking dude.
He's the reason that they didn't interfere is basically, I think, what he's going to be used for, is why they didn't interfere with the Thanos saga.
I hope he does the it'd be pretty epic if they let that select.
down.
Yeah, exactly. The thumbs with the what did he say on his thumb contains like the formula for destruction or something like that. Ashley, were you familiar with the Eternals prior to this episode? Yo, this is Botter. Sorry for interrupting this episode, but I'll keep it brief. I wanted to let you know about a massive sale we have going on over at the Shortbox store on all of our merchandise and apparel. That's theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com. You can now save 20% off your entire order using the discount code YOO, Y-O-O. So if you've been waiting for the right time to finally buy that gauntlet snapback, or if you ever wanted to buy any of the shirts you see me wear on the podcast, well, now's your chance to get them for a steal. We still have a few sizes left of everything, but they won't last long, and once they're gone, they are gone. And then I mentioned that all of our apparel is screen printed on high quality material. None of that heat transfer or direct to garment stuff. Our shirts are some of the most comfortable ones you'll ever wear, and the hats look even better in person. So wear your support for the Shortbox Nation proudly, knowing that you're going to look damn good doing it. Get to theshortboxstore.bigcartel.com as soon as you can, and don't forget to use that discount code YOO, Y-O-O, to save 20% off your entire order. All of this information can be found in this episode's show notes if you want to get there faster. Thanks for not pressing fast forward. Now back to the show.
No, it was one of those things like it reminded me of Guardians of the Galaxy, where I had like almost no familiarity with them or the comic or anything about it. But I feel like with this movie coming out, Marvel's going to make it popular. Maybe not as popular as that group.
Yeah,
but
if they pull this off, that would be
a
tip of the hat for sure. That's a tough. I think that's a very.
This is definitely the litmus test of their branding power.
Exactly.
It's like, does MCU have the branding power to make something as obscure and even I think amongst like
and dense and like really like just so much that you have to really unwrap. You can't you can't do an elevator pitch for the Eternals.
No.
It's like okay, hold on. Before everything happened, there was these gods called Celestials. They made 3 races out of monkeys, and like whoa, what? You can't really do a 2-sentence thing for them.
Well, I mean, I guess if you've read like Chariots of the Gods, like that 19. Are you guys familiar with that?
I've seen a lot of Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, it's basically kind of I'll say it's a racist pseudoscience saying that these they're too dumb to build triangles, these ancient non-white people, how could they build these pyramids? It must have been aliens.
What's that
alien astronauts
astronauts
gave us the technology.
That Eric Von Daniken, I think his name is, he's like the best-selling like non-fiction writer, which is
and this isn't
crazy.
Like, Chariot of the Gods isn't fiction. This is a non-fiction,
and there's a ton of those books
theories.
Interesting. I mean,
crazy.
It definitely, you could definitely look at Eternal. I think even Jack Kirby, I think was open about like borrowing some concepts of that, but and even if not, it's very similar to.
They were going to call it something of the gods too. It was going to be very
that's right.
parallel thinking, to that.
But I mean, in addition to that, but it's also like this original Eternals run is like a mix of like sci-fi, the Bible, which Kirby loves to
Noah's Ark
incorporate.
is in it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, I was flying and they thought I was a bird or something. It's like, that's a weird thing.
Yeah, it's a mix of sci-fi, the Bible, and then a bunch of other like mythologies, Greek and biblical.
Yeah, because even like
and
Crow,
Incan too.
Yeah, and the Crow, because he basically, since he looks like the stereotypical devil with the horns, that's what he used to when they attacked. I don't know if you guys got that far, but when they hit. All the deviants attack New York. Basically, it's like he's the devil's alive.
Yeah. So Crow's bright idea is instead of the deviants, us fighting this giant celestial when he decides to make his judgment, in 50 years, let's get the humans to do that.
Yeah.
And entice them or get them riled up by attacking New York, which is like, of course they're going to attack New York.
Yeah, it's where Marvel headquarters is. And it's Kirby, so it's going to be in New York.
Let's attack. But it's like this police force is actually doing a pretty good job of holding the line.
Yeah,
they are. But let's attack New York. and disguise ourselves as devils to play into like their, this fear of theirs. And then they'll attack the Celestials. I don't know. It was just a very half-assed plan, but
I know.
It was fun. Ed, what about you? Were you familiar with the Eternals prior to this?
Casual. I was familiar with the just the characters and the looks and just the design of the characters, but this was the first time actually sitting down and reading it, because I always dismissed it as like, okay, this is kind of Fourth World, but just transferred over to Marvel. I just there's a lot of parallels between the characters, so I was like,
big time.
I like Fourth World better, but so I never really gave it a shot. I still, and it's weird because it's like I still liked Devil Dinosaur, because that was in the same time, so I still like that just because how silly and awesome it is. But yeah, the Eternals never really, outside of the character designs, they never really interested me.
I put Eternals in the same bucket as like early Fantastic Four and any other very dense sci-fi stories that Marvel was putting out. In this bucket that I call comics that OG Marvel fans really like, aka like my dad really enjoy, right? I was more so familiar with Eternals thanks to the 2006 series that Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr. that they put out. Because by 2006, like the Eternals were rather like kind of definitely obscure. Marvel wasn't really using them, so they approached Neil Gaiman and said, "Hey, we need you to bring these guys back into main continuity, but we want you to make them a little more grounded." Because I think at that time Marvel was doing like Civil War, and their flagship characters at that point were Captain America and Iron Man. So it was like, bring the Eternals back but modernize them. So that's how I became familiar with them. But to your point, I've always kind of written it off as like, this was Jack Kirby's like, he didn't get to finish what he wanted to do with Fourth World and
like
New Gods. So let me bring that idea back to Marvel. And I mean, on the topic of of Jack Kirby and writing this, are you familiar? Are any of you familiar with like how he brought this idea to Marvel?
No, I'm not familiar with the idea. I'm more familiar of the environment he was working in, but I'm not familiar with the.
So I mean, just real quickly, he was working because he had left Marvel in the mid 70s, and he ended up working at DC in 1971 through 75. That's where we got the Fourth World Saga. So that's when he was writing New Gods, Mr. Miracle, Forever People, and then Jimmy Olsen and his pal Superman. Yeah. He lasted with DC for about like 4 years. But I mean, New Gods, I think it's safe to say was like his passion project. Oh, yeah. It was like mythology that he was kind of toying around with in the original Thor series when he created Thor. And then just leaning more into like things that he wanted to do. Sci-fi meets mythology, meets Bible stories. But of course, things didn't work out in DC. He comes back to Marvel, and among the series that he got to, that he did for Marvel included, I think he did Black Panther. He did, I think maybe Devil Dinosaur. Was that prior?
Parallel or a little bit after.
Okay.
So yeah.
But Eternals was one, like, I think Eternals was like his was the comic series that he got to create. Like that was his project. Yeah, exactly. Like write, draw, edit, kind of overlook the whole time. So Eternals has a lot of ties to the Fourth World stuff, dealing with gods and like demigods and how they interact with humanity.
There's a guy in a crazy chair. There's like the
so many just blatant similarities. Dude.
Yeah, and then the Reject, the way he is what I call the handsome deviant, who's scorned because he's a good looking guy, but he was basically him and Carcass, who's the best character of the Eternals, are bred in this kind of. They were kind of made to just basically fight in this arena they have. Carcass was too monsterly for the deviants, and then a Reject was too handsome. But the Reject is basically Orion, because he's always like, kill, fight, kill, violence, but he has a reason to. Orion is just an asshole, because he was born in paradise, because of the trade.
Actually, I think me and you are on the same page, where this is our first time reading this original run. Ed, it sounded like you've read the whole series prior to this. Actually, you said you read the first 4 issues, and I wanted to hear from you based on what you read. Like, how did it sit with you? Did you like it? Why not?
I mean, I did, honestly. Like, some of this old stuff that we read sometimes is kind of hard to get into. But of course, it did have those like old colors, just like the hit you in the face, like the Glennis Wein, just like 70s colors. But I like the character designs because I haven't read a lot of stuff from like the 60s and 70s, but I have read like Journey into Mystery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I see like Thor and like the faces and stuff, which I
yeah.
really like. But I didn't meet that many characters in the issues that I read. So I want to keep reading, but I don't know. I really liked it.
Get the Cersei yet? Or does...
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
when she's just dancing.
She's dancing.
Her first panel is like my
bikini, yeah.
favorite. Yeah, she's just like,
in New York,
oh,
chilling.
I'm just dancing.
Yeah.
She's like, how's it
She's
going?
living it up.
Yeah.
She's to me.
I'm gonna live forever. What do I gotta?
She was the most. She was the most captivating character. And I'd read up to 7 issues, and she was the most captivating character to me. It's like she was the most fun. She had like
she has
the best personality.
Yeah, like we were talking earlier, she has the most personality. Because Ike's kind of, he's kind of stale, generic,
very vanilla,
very vanilla.
and so is Richard Madden. So
Yeah.
I don't know how the movie's gonna be.
It's a match made in heaven at that point.
Well, I guess it's good casting. Yeah, I hope they liven him up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I hope they use the Ike Harris thing too. That's just
Ike
awesome.
Harris. Yeah. No one would have ever guessed that.
The baseball hat
This is-
reveal.
Yeah,
He just has like wonderful hair
he
underneath.
just does the head shake. His shampoo
But he's
commercial.
still in regular clothing, so I mean, the archaeologists are still like dumbfounded.
Yeah.
Which I mean,
well,
really,
he does when he's showing the worlds, like he's basically creating like the the solar system stuff with his hands when he's explaining the origins of the universe. So
Mhm.
I think that's what kind of freaks them out.
I chalk it up to 3 S's: scope, scale, and stakes. I think Jack Kirby nailed all of those really well. The scope is large; it's ever spanning. Like we're talking from like the dawn of mankind, like that. He is hoping to like rewrite the origin of mankind in Eternals, right? The scale large. I mean, even visually, like Jack Kirby has so many great splash pages and double spreads and some of these issues that are just breathtaking. And then the stakes, like he goes to the utmost stakes. Like this is literally a battle between like, the gods and the devils and, and the fate of humankind. I think in the first 2 issues, we're introduced to the Celestials and the stakes are set. The judge will spend 50 years judging mankind, and at the end of it, either he's going to let us live or not. And then that sets everything off. So right from the get-go, I mean, the story is just like, to me, it dwarfs any tales of like, mischief makers attacking Manhattan. Like anything the Avengers or the Iron Mans had going on around this time, it just immediately dwarfed by like how big this story is.
This is basically the Celestials come and they're going to determine, from what I'm reading, because it does get kind of midpoint on, it gets kind of like, okay, what's really going on?
I felt that too, because and I don't know if it's just that it was repeating it like to Ashley's point, the way a lot of these older books are written, every issue is meant to be a good jumping on point for a new reader.
Yeah.
So they're always kind of regurgitating, the plot and the overall story in every issue. And I don't know if it's just that I kept reading the same thing with different iterations that I started getting a little lost.
And I think it's one of, and as much as I like champion and love, Jack Kirby's art and he's an idea guy, but I think story to story, page to page, it's not the panels are laid out beautifully. The art is, great. It is polarizing to some folks, but the dialogue is off. And I think that's where he would have benefited with a writer, someone to help him out with the scripts and just like, and I think looking back fairly, Stan Lee probably pulls him back in the Fantastic Four and stuff. It's like, okay, let's kind of dumb this down a little and simplify this and make it more cohesive, a storyline. But I know him going back to Marvel at that time was like, Stan wasn't there. Stan was, I think, in LA at the time doing, merchandising and, media and, things like that for Marvel. So he wasn't the day-to-day guy in the office. And at that time, there was a lot of turmoil because there was all these editors, a revolving door of editors and chiefs. And a lot of people didn't like Kirby being back.
Yeah.
They're not going to put it in the collections, but there was a lot of, like, the editors didn't like him because Kirby didn't want any editorial input. He's earned that to a degree, but I think if you're working with a Marvel, you kind of have to work within that system. It's like any big company.
And I think at that time, Marvel had, not only was it becoming bigger, more popular, but I think it also, the house style and everything about it changed.
So his style, even though, like, this is late 70s, mid to late 70s, we're seeing guys like, or Neil Adams and stuff. So you're seeing a different kind of aesthetic. It's like when the 90s came around and like those Image guys came out, those guys became old fashioned. Neil Adams and stuff became old fashioned. So Kirby's style, as awesome as it is, it's kind of becoming, oh, this is kind of dated almost, at that time. And like I said, comics were a totally different thing in the 70s. But like I said, yeah, a lot of editors, they would put like hate mail in the columns in the comic. They would put like negative email, like negative, not emails, but negative mails for like all the people hating the, because I think a lot of the editors were bitter because they wanted to work with him because that's their hero.
Legend, yeah.
But he didn't want to. And who knows how those conversations went, like if he just brushed them off or if he was rude about it. But he wanted to be kind of left to his own devices, but they wanted this to kind of tie into the Marvel universe, but he didn't want that. So that's why you see, like, you guys will get to it, but he fights like there's Hulk makes a guest appearance, but it's not the Hulk, it's a robot Hulk that these college kids make. There's so like that second half.
My God.
I know, it's like, what is going on? I mean, it's cool. The Hulk, Kirby drawing the Hulk is awesome, but in the context of this story, and there's a couple people that
it feels like you're shoehorning in.
Yeah, and it's like, and I think they even were changing stuff on him without him knowing, and he didn't know about it till, and like I said, that's the thing too. If Stan Lee was still the day-to-day guy, who knows? Because I think Stan, as much as I like, as much shade gets thrown on him, I think he really did never wanted him to go, and I think, and he was happy to bring him back, but without him kind of more or less kind of
actually involved,
shielding
in
him,
and the making of the comic,
and like getting the vultures away from him, and like kind of keeping an eye on what's going on at the office, because this is New York, he's in LA doing his thing for Marvel. I think that would have made a different story, because I don't think he really got to tell without interference. So I could imagine if he brought this to, like, either published it himself or brought it to like a heavy metal or something where you could get like really cool, like his watercolor stuff.
Oh yeah.
How awesome that would be.
Since you bring up Stan Lee, I did want to mention that it was Stan Lee that announced Kirby's return to Marvel at a comic book convention called MarvelCon in 1975. I think the what I found online mentioned that Stan had mentioned that when he mentioned, "Hey, I've got some pretty big news," Kirby walks down the aisle of the convention center, and everyone's like getting hype, and he sits with him on the table, and it was like a good moment between them to, like, catch up on old times and announce his return, which I think is pretty cool.
And Kirby's, this is kind of towards not the end per se, but this is later stages Kirby. So he's coming off of a run at DC, which was, now we looking back on it, it's awesome because the Fourth World and Darkseid, they're such a big part of that DC universe now. But then, they canceled all his books. They tried to make, they kept Mr. Miracle, but he kind of had to make it more of like a superhero book rather than his, mythology, type of thing. So he really had to change his stuff, and he got out when he could get out, and he went to Marvel. Here we go again, same bullshit, different company.
You brought up that Kirby is an idea guy, and I think this is a prime example of his idea being really, large and scope wise, and then it feels like, even when he didn't want to, it was effortlessly blended into like the Marvel Comics lore, because this is how they work in the Celestials into the Marvel like history, and if you were to like get super technical and nerdy with it, the Celestials would be the reason the Marvel universe had started in this instance. They're the reasons
the whole universe has started.
Yeah, the
basically
creators
they experimented on apes and made these 3 races and then like left. And then it's crazy because they have the deviants where, I don't know if they specifically mention it, but the deviants basically used like the cavemen humans to kind of build all their stuff. And then the Celestials came back and like, fuck you guys, and then basically sunk their city. And so is that Atlantis? So that kind of brings that kind of Atlantis mythology, because they end up living on the seabed or under the sea. And I love all of those nods, like how the Eternals, because they possess superhuman strength, and because they've been around since the dawn of mankind, that they are the reasons we have, at least in this context. Yeah, we base our religions on mythology, like Cersei. She is the Cersei, supposed to be the Cersei of like Greek mythology. She was the Cersei in the Odyssey. Ajax, is I think considered multiple, or he was
mistaken for multiple gods of the Incan religion.
Makari's Mercury.
Makari is Mercury, you know.
yeah.
So it's cool to see like Kirby take all of these different mythology stories and deities and gods and work them into the story. He makes it work, you know. The story that he's developed makes it work, and I know a lot of it is based off of that Chariots of the Gods, but he adds his own Kirby sensibilities
and I think,
to it.
and I remember just calling out Chariot of the Gods. I want to kind of reiterate that this is not like what Kirby's doing is not based on like I don't know. I think he took that idea and made great fiction out of it.
For
but
sure.
It's not like my issue with Chariot of the Gods is treated as a science.
Yes. Yep.
Like biology, this bullshit, chemistry. He's like, come on. That's my issue with it. But it is a fascinating fictional idea. It's a
Kirby
fascinating
doesn't write in anywhere where it's like demoralizing or plays down any one group of people at all.
Yeah.
If anything, it's like he's kind of like tongue in cheek with it. Like Makari, I think says in that one issue, like I forgive you humans and your dialect because you guys have mispronounced my name all these years. It's Makari, not
and
Mercury.
there's not specifically black and white, good and evil.
Exactly.
Because there's a bad. You'll see one guy at the end who's an Eternal who's like almost like Desaad. He kind of reminds me of Desaad. And what's his name? Like with the horns, there's like he's kind of an in between.
Crow.
Sorry, his name's escaped my head. But yeah, he's kind of like because him and Thena had like some kind of weird thing going on. Like, I'm sorry you guys haven't got that far yet, but they have kind of like a weird back and forth where they may have had a relationship back thousands of years ago or something. But they couldn't. It's like a Romeo and Juliet. They couldn't.
You're a deviant.
Yeah.
And
it'll never work.
And I'm an Eternal living in Olympia, living it up.
You live under the sea, and it
and,
stinks down there.
And the same problem is prevalent here, where it's like, where have you Eternals been this whole time? Like, humankind has fucking suffered. These deviants have been running wild.
They've just been chilling. Like, there's like a party that they have where they invite like the archaeologists and some other people. One guy's an actor that's been an actor.
Who is the equivalent of All-Father in Eternals?
Oh, man. The guy with the big red beard?
Yeah, red. We'll just call him Big Red Beard for now until we get his name. But when we're introduced to him and Thena, they're playing, Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Yeah, the Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
It's like these Eternals are just lush, man. They got a lush life.
They're just on Mount Olympus, just not giving a shit about anything.
Big Red Beard, his name is Zurus. Yeah, Father Zurus.
So this is like Zeus, which is a playoff on Zeus.
Exactly. Ashley, what would you say about like the artwork? Was there any like standout panels, pages, or issues that got your attention?
I mean, it was that just like super solid Kirby artwork. I really did like all the Incan stuff and like that first issue especially. Because you look at that and you're like, oh, that's like where Mike Mignola got his style from. Like it looks like that. But all like those ancient, like the ancient space shuttle. I don't know what you'd call it. And like all that ancient stuff that they had with like all
the
those
Incan ruins
like
and space vehicles.
All that stuff was just so cool, and I love that. Like you can tell that an artist wrote this because he made sure that he had more than enough room to draw all this stuff out. Like this stuff was huge. It wasn't like crammed in a panel.
Nope.
It was enormous. And that was definitely my favorite part.
I love any time that we're introduced to a new character, whether it be Eternal. Well, specifically Eternal, like when Ajax shows up or Cersei, like we get that very big splash page. And I think that's where Kirby's art is at its best, when he's got like the scale and the room just to let his art breathe and reaches like full dynamic apex, especially anytime like when the deviants end up, attacking New York and their, plan to start this whole ruse. There are multiple pages where, deviants, you've got like, you've got all these elements going on at the same time. You've got like multiple deviants, all of various shapes, sizes, colors. You've got like these crazy looking spaceships and ray guns, and whatnot. Then you've got like police forces. You've got buildings in the back. Like, it's like, damn, how does Kirby fit all of this into that? And I think to your point, it's the fact that, he thinks of an artist brain first. So he's writing, he's letting himself get like these big epic splash pages and whatnot. I think the only critique I would have as far as the art goes is that anytime that Kirby doesn't have that space to like really flesh things out and give you like that big dynamic scale, sometimes I think the art does suffer in like smaller panels. Like if you start paying attention to some background characters' faces, or really like he starts losing in some of the faces and I think form. Like sometimes it's hard to delineate between Icarus and Margot. Anytime that they're on screen together, because they end up both having like the same chisel
square face.
Yeah.
He does have a look. He's draws some odd looking women for sure.
But you know what? And I apply that. Was it the Supreme Court that defined porn as it when you see it? I apply that to Kirby. And and artists like Mobius, where it's like it's them when you see it. There's no denying that they have
it's distinct, so distinct.
Yes, exactly, super distinct, and it is. I mean, Kirby is in rare form, not
one
rare
of those
form,
guys.
but
If you
in
try
top form.
anything like, it's like, oh, that's Kirby. It's like instant. It's like even if you take a little, try to steal a little bit of stuff when you draw something.
He's
like,
got a way of
Kirby.
making even like faces like rugged, like raw, like strong, and I don't know what it is about the way he draws hair. But even the hair looks like it will whoop your ass.
Yeah, this is like solid. It is helmet hair forever.
I'll go ahead and champion the colorist too, Glynis Oliver, who at least did all of the colors for these first 7 issues that I read. They all pop. I mean, it's something about the way the colors are just like stand out against like this heavy black inking, which I mean, when it comes to Kirby, that's like 80% of the image you're seeing. I thought the colors looked fantastic, and I don't know if the digital version that's on Marvel Unlimited is the same that's what's printed in the actual physical book, but Kirby kills it with red and yellow. His red and yellow game is like, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I'm
this
not
is
Kirby,
like
but the colors.
70s. This is primary inks. Not a lot of digital processes, and with Kirby's line work, it's easy. If you've seen it black and white, it's easy to get lost, or what shape is what, and kind of it blends together. So you need those figures to pop out and like separate itself from the backgrounds and things.
And I think is it Glennis Oliver or Glennis Ween? I thought it was Len Ween's wife.
Oh,
maybe that's just, I'll double check, but
okay.
There's a lot of coloring wives in comics.
Yeah, but I like her. Like she gets out those magentas.
Yeah,
like those are the ones that I'm like, that is a bold choice.
Oh yeah, is Laura Allred, Mike Allred's wife, was the colorist, and Tatiana Wood was Wally Wood's.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick, so
Lynn Varley was married to Frank Miller. Okay, sorry.
No. In the issues, no, I mean that was a good run. I was about to add.
That's all I had.
Was that Walt Simonson's wife also?
I think Louise Simons. Yeah,
she was a colorist too.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Ashley Laney Hoy, all right, colorist, and she's a wife.
Well, it's not.
That's bad reach. Okay, never mind. Bad reach.
She's a wife and a colorist too, I guess. You don't color Josh's stuff though.
No. He doesn't let me.
He doesn't let you. Yeah, that's Josh.
All right. So in the actual issues, she is credited as Glynis Ween.
Okay.
But for some reason in the the credits for Marvel Unlimited, it's Glynis Oliver. So I wonder if Oliver might be maybe a middle or maybe a
maiden name
or something.
They got divorced. I don't know.
I don't know either.
It sounds like we just need to dedicate an episode to Colorist Wives. Kind of No, imagine a reality show, real colorist wives, like, real comic colorist wives of New York or some shit like that. Okay, Kirby was recently trending because of a small online minority was claiming his art sucked, which they probably were all like under 12 or something, 15. But it was causing like a bunch of Marvel creators and movie and industry people, I think like James Gunn chimed in, and they were all countering with like praise, like you guys are out of your mind, like this is the comic book guy,
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's not like it's something new. Like I said, even when he was working there, when I was saying that he was getting the hate mail and stuff, and
I think in his later, like the last half of his career, like
and
he just was not being appreciated.
Yeah, and much. I think what may have hurt him is just that he never stopped. He kept working. And I think it's one of those, how can we miss you if you don't go away?
That's a good point. And I guess it's natural, like, and
it's natural because, and you can, and that's just age. I mean, he's still pumping out stuff till the 90s, before he passed away. And it's just, I think if it was in a capsule, if he just had that Fantastic Four run, and then he went and became like Frank Frazetta became like just a painter, an illustrator, it would have been held in high regard. It's like the musicians who pass away at a young age; they're basically instant icons.
Got it.
You know, so I think it's just he never left, and then like I said, those last from the 70s is like creatively, and you know, I think they were great, but it's just they were not hits. You know, it was like you started Fantastic Four. It's where do you go? You know,
and I also think what attributed to hurting him is that he just never. Even, I mean, you can make an argument to this day, like, but especially 70s, 80s time frame, all that drama going on between, you know, with him trying to get the appropriate credit that he deserved. Yeah. I think there was, you know, I won't say there was an active or conscious smear campaign, but, you know, I think the fact that maybe to some he came off as like bitter or what are you talking about, when in all honesty, he deserved much more credit. Yeah. I do want to mention that, though, even though maybe in the latter half of his comic book career, maybe he wasn't getting the proper respect he deserved and credit. He did end up leaving Marvel shortly after like joining them. I think he stayed with Marvel until like 79 and 80 and then just started working in animation. Yeah. And I know there is when he really got a lot of like, he actually worked with like a team that appreciated him because a lot of those animators like grew up on his comic book. So they welcomed him with like open arms. Yeah. And it's like him and like Alice Toth, you know, they had their appreciation. And you see a lot of like even like Bernie Wrightson, he started doing Mike Ploog. They started working in movies and storyboards and getting paid way more money, doing way less work, you know, comparatively. So you see a lot of those guys transition to, you know, working in the film industry. Even like Mobius did stints in the film industry. So and I think they do appreciate that more. And I think the bigger thing is it's a better compensation. That's what I remember seeing Bernie Wrightson at a Heroes convention. He said, I was like, yeah. He's like, fuck these comics.
Yeah, it's like people, I think people just
cartoons and movies.
It's like people just thought I died, you know? Yeah. No one's heard from me until he started working with Steve Niles again and getting back into comics. But he's been working storyboards and stuff.
There were also like these days that Jack Kirby was having to do like 4 or 5 pages a day to make money. And like, how do you keep that consistency when you're like being worked for 14 hours? And he comes
from that old school where it's like, you have to keep working. You have to keep hustling.
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to, because when he was a kid, he's working at 3 or 4 different companies, pumping out pages.
At the end of the day, the internet is just full of edgelords that are like, oh, you think this is so great? Well, I think it sucks.
Because I even went into Eternals like, oh, this is not going to be that great. And I loved it. I was like, this is awesome. And it's like, and you can see, and knowing the history and the time period, you kind of see where, okay, this is where they're starting to interfere with them. And I never read comics like that before. You know, you don't think about that. You just want to concentrate on, you don't think about the drama that goes on behind the scenes.
Sometimes, but sometimes you can't help it. Yeah, notice it.
Yeah, when Robot Hulk pops up, it's like, what the F is this?
Yeah, like, okay. I want to transition to talking about the movie, but I do want to share this quote from Kevin Feige that he shared earlier this week, just because, you know, we're talking about Jack Kirby and his credit that I still feel like he's only just now kind of getting. But Kevin Feige, president of Marvel Studios, recently said in an interview, I quote, "The whole movie is a love letter to what one man was able to do with a pencil sitting at a desk on the East Coast. The other day, I was like, how cool is it that I live in a timeline where William Shatner went to space in real life? One of the bummers, you could agree, there are many, of the current timeline that we live in, is that Jack Kirby passed before he got to see any of this," end quote. Definitely spoke to me in the sense of like, I think if there was any, well, Grant, I think Fourth World would be the one that maybe Kirby would love to have seen adapted in the big screen. But I think Eternals being so close to that source material and basically being like their little cousin.
I don't know how he'd like the Zack Snyder.
That's a good point. Yeah, it had me thinking like, damn, that is a travesty of this timeline. Is that, you know, Jack Kirby is not alive to see any of his creations on the big screen. Granted, would he be more pissed that he's not getting paid properly? Probably, but I think, you know, he'd still appreciate it in some way.
That's like a lot of, you know, doesn't really apply because this is like big dollar Hollywood movies, but a lot of artists, you know, they don't see their success in their time, you know, so usually posthumously they get the recognition they deserve, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I mean, just imagine Kirby being like knowing that, damn, Eternals? That's getting a
cigar?
movie?
Yeah.
Wait,
That's not my reaction.
Angelina Jolie?
Yeah, she's Thena, right? She's got the blonde wig on.
Yeah, she's playing Thena.
Oh,
Gemma Chan is playing Cersei. Richard Madden is playing Icarus. Salma Hayek is playing Ajax. They threw in Kit Harington for good measure. He's going to be Black Knight.
Black Knight. That's the thing. It's like, what's Black Knight?
I think
who wanted Black Knight on the screen? Kit Harington, he's great, but
I think he's probably going to play the role much like the archaeologist. But it's an all-star, pretty much like an all-star cast as far as this movie goes. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being extremely hype, how much are you looking forward to the movie based on like the trailers we got and the information we know?
It looks, I'm sure it'll be fine, but it's not like I'm not super stoked on seeing it. It's just like, oh, I wonder how they're gonna balance like 10 lead characters, how they're gonna juggle all this and handle this story and what they're going to. I'm more curious than excited, if that makes sense. I'm more like, I wonder what they're gonna take from Kirby. I wonder what they're going to adapt and what they're going to kind of, push back and how they're going to approach this, because we're talking about this is how the universe was created now, where this is like big, heady, kind of big, deep stuff that we're going to try to do in a movie. I think this would have benefited from being a series, because there's so many characters.
And it's dense.
And
it's
it's
a lot
so
of
dense.
storytelling.
Because I would love to see like a beginning of time where the deviants are, wreaking havoc and the Celestials come down and having like a couple episodes of that. That'd be pretty awesome to see. But I'm not sure. I'm curious to see how they pull it off, but I'm not really. This is not one that I'm really like super stoked to see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they make me care.
Yeah,
like the stakes. I mean, literally, the stakes in the comic are so damn high. It's like the end. The survival of humanity as we know it. How do you make those stakes happen in this movie and still tie into like the bigger MCU?
Yeah,
is what I'm curious about.
And were they affected by this? Did they get snapped? Eternals? Any of those? It's like how are we going to tie? Because we've already did probably the biggest stakes you can have. So what I'm seeing, and unfortunately, I think what they're going to try to do is make things bigger just because they think they have to. Like make the stakes bigger instead of telling a better story. It's like with Black Widow, even with Shang-Chi a little bit, it's like they're trying to really make these stakes that we don't really need at this point. Where can we go from Thanos killing half the universe? It's hard.
It doesn't look, I mean, I could be absolutely wrong, but I almost feel like this would have benefited if this story took place or pre like MCU, right? Like if this story took place, actually told unfolded throughout the course of mankind. Like you actually went back to the Incan times and got to see like the Celestials and the Eternals battle there. I
mean, they do. There is like they mention the Celestial's head as the in Guardians of the Galaxy, where that's nowhere.
Oh yeah,
because that's a Celestial's head. So that was kind of like a
that was the first nod to it.
Yeah, And then Guardians it's a tough one too, but it's like it's a more fun story. It's like a bunch of like kind of outcasts working together. That's fun. You can sell that. It's like it's a raccoon.
And I don't get super fun vibes from the trailer. No, it seems like a very much darker. I mean, I like both. Stoic. Dark in the sense of like just lighting and like their uniforms are very kind of stale in comparison to like true Jack Kirby kind of fashion. I don't know. Like even the posters to me. We're talking about like a Kirby creation. Even the posters have been kind of bland and just I don't know, just dark. Like nothing about it pops like the comic book does.
I mean, I think curious is the right word, like you said, versus excited. But also like you think about like the stakes for like the Guardians of the Galaxy, like they could die. Like these characters can't. So how are you going to get like my heart racing and like obviously
that's true. It's like
I'm like immortals. Oh, you can't die. So like
are they like the Highlander where you can cut their head off? Because even in the comic they're like saying we can't kill them but we can torture them and hurt them. And did you get to the part where they put them in a torpedo and like put them at the bottom of the ocean? They put
that sounds awful.
They hit Icarus of Fate. What is that, mine bomb or mine?
Some kind of weird name, and it's like
basically puts them to sleep.
Makes them asleep. It's like a chip that goes on his head. It's like all this time, and that's the weapons that these guys come up with.
Yeah,
like
but
a
I
net
mean, he's
gun.
still alive. Oh yeah, that
he's
little
still-
fabric thing.
Yeah, the fabric
You
gun.
gonna throw
It's
a
like,
jacket
this will
on him?
inconvenience you.
Yeah, just cover his eyes.
Ah!
Yeah. Yeah, in the comic books they
It's
say
like putting on a tight sweater. That's the worst this does.
yeah, in the comic books they say the Eternals their main power is in their heads, like the energy in their heads that gets unleashed through their eyes. So everyone's got laser beams for the most
Laser
part.
eyes. And
Yeah.
Cersei can, and they have like, they can manipulate atoms, or that's how they explain the shape changing.
I'm hoping, like I said, that this movie really plays with like the different timelines, the different civilizations that are impacted by the original story, and we spend a lot more time in the past. I think if we spend all time in the past, and then by the end of it, this is them waking up and coming into the fold for the rest of the MCU, I'd be down for that. But the trailers tell me otherwise.
Yeah.
That it's supposed to take place post snap, current time, etc.
This would work, I think, better as like a prehistory, like explaining this whole concept, because it take a couple hours to explain the Celestials,
Yeah, you probably could give us the whole and they probably will give us the whole backstory and that opening. And I think that's what Selma Hayek's role, who's playing she is playing Ajax. I think she's supposed to be like our guide. I'm sure that they'll do a good job of giving us the 30,000 foot view, but it'd be so much fun to actually see this shit unfold, like Celestials making the three races, like early mankind fighting the deviants, the Eternals like playing these gods or being these these deities. That'd be a lot of fun. So I guess it sounds like we're all pretty much curious about it. I want to go ahead and wrap up this Eternal segment by providing our recommendations for next steps, whether that be reading materials or anything else. Ed, I'll go ahead and let you kick us off, man. Where should people go next if they want more Eternals content?
Like I said, I haven't read the other runs, so my only experience is with Kirby, and I always recommend getting Jack Kirby stuff, like
Same.
From Machine Man, Devil Dinosaur. It's all fun. It's all worth looking into. It's worth having in your collection. It's everything he's done is like a piece of comic book history if you're into it. So yeah, I recommend. But just get the collection. Like I said, it's not perfect, but you have it all in one sitting. So yeah, I'd recommend just getting that and going through it.
Good suggestion. Ashley, what's your favorite Jack Kirby creation? I'm curious.
Carcass.
I didn't even get that
Didn't even
far.
get that
My
far.
favorite.
Creation, like
Or comic, or creation, comic, whatever it is.
Oh, I mean, just his old journey into mystery stuff.
Oh, we're going
Like the way that he
pre-superhero
draws
stuff.
like Thor's hair.
Oh.
Like there's nothing that's ever been better than that for me.
I think one of my favorite covers is I don't know if it was a Thor issue or issue during the mystery, but it was like Thor and the Destroyer on the cover, kind of like going at it.
Yeah.
Anytime he draws like Thor and Hercules battling on the cover,
Yeah.
it's just something like it looks like a fight card. Like
Yeah.
you're looking at
Oh,
a
yeah.
moment from like a history or mythology like going down.
Yeah.
So,
When I think about like old comics, like those covers are exactly what comes to my head.
well said. I'm going to recommend that people check out the Neil Gaiman series, just to see how he dives deeper in between the cracks of the foundation that Kirby sets up. Neil Gaiman adds a little more nuance and a little more characterization to the characters that Kirby sets up. And it's Neil Gaiman, man. Like you can rarely go wrong with any of his stuff. And it's John Romita Jr. Like in top form. Like this was like, early mid 2000s, and Romita is still like got his A game.
That's probably
going
his
on.
peak
For
stuff.
sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I'll go ahead and recommend the new series of Eternals that's written by Kieran Gillen, as well as art by Asad Ribic. That started earlier this year. I think it's up to issue 6, if not 7 at this point. And a few of our listeners have already shared some pretty positive words about it. I think, Ed, every time you've posted the new Comic Book Day post on Instagram, and if you include Eternals, I think Matt Vigo on the dime will be like, yo, Eternals is great. Check it out. All right, Shortbox Nation. And that brings us to the end of our Eternals Spotlight for this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the crash course and you learned something new. Hopefully you go into the movie, whether it be this week or next, feeling a little more confident about the source material and a better understanding of who the Eternals are. Before we finish out the first half of this show, I want to spend some time talking about the best new comic books on the shelves right now. It's time for our Fistful of Comics segment.
You can either have a mouthful of tea or a fistful of comics.
Fistful of Comics, this is the segment that's sponsored by Gotham City Limit. It's Jacksonville's premier shop for comics, toys, collectibles, and more. If you live in the area or if you ever find yourself passing through Jack's, stop by the shop on Southside Boulevard and tell them the Shortbox sent you. So what we do on Fistful of Comics is every week one of us spotlights a brand new comic from the last month in hopes of making it that much easier for you to try to find something new next time you visit a comic shop. Think of this as a show and tell, but we're only talking about the best new comics on the shelves right now. Ed's going to go ahead and lead us for this segment for this week. Ed, what you got?
I'm going to recommend, it just came out, I think last week or the week before. It's Catwoman, Lonely City. It's a DC Black Label book by Cliff Chang, who's doing everything. Colors, he's writing it, he's lettering it, and he's drawing it, which is pretty
He's getting his Jack Kirby on.
I know. It's like, man. So like I said, I'm familiar with him for his the Paper Girls series he was on. And like I said, beautiful, clean work. It's kind of in the prestige format, almost like magazine sized. Basically, it is it's slightly into the future, 10 years into the future, or I guess 10 years in the future. There was a massacre called which we're going to kind of go back because it's kind of like there's a mystery that's happening as well. There's a event called Fool's Night that basically killed Batman, Joker, Nightwing, and Commissioner Gordon, and Selina Kyle got sent to jail for 10 years. So basically, this is her getting out of jail. Harvey Dent is the mayor. He's reformed. He's the mayor of Gotham. Gotham is like a lot cleaner and lighter, but you can kind of sense it's like there's this kind of like a police state type situation. All the cops kind of have like riot gear and like some kind of Wayne technology, like Terminator, where they can see somebody and like all the information pops up. And they have like little like bat ears, almost like little cowls on their helmet. So they're like Batman mixed with like a SWAT policeman look to it. So you can see there's something strange. So there's no more real superheroes. But like I said, it's Selina getting out of jail, trying to get her life back together. There's a funny thing with the Penguin. He's basically kind of made this offshore gambling island and he's basically like rich and doing really well. And, but like I said, there's no more real superheroes or supervillains involved, but it's kind of a mystery to see what this whole Fool's Night is. And, you know, Batman gives her like this code name and she has to figure out what this is, you know, to kind of, I'm not sure what exactly is going, but it's interesting. It's like I said, it's Catwoman's like in her 50s in this. So it's almost like a Dark Knight Returns, but with Catwoman. But it's a lot, like I said, beautiful artwork. Like I said, it's a very interesting idea. Having, you know, Catwoman as a lead for a story like this is really cool. But yeah, I'd recommend it. It's something like I said, beautiful comic.
Who does his the coloring in that?
He does.
Dang.
He does everything.
Really does it all.
It's like he just has his name on every, like, written by, produced by, starring. Yeah, he's doing 100% of this book. So
I think my favorite, aside from it, you know, his actual line work, I think his something about his colors are so, I don't know, they're mellow. It's like easy to look at, like nice to look at. So
they're almost flat. They have the palette is always, you know, shades of whatever color the scene is in. So it's very nice, and it doesn't take away from his artwork at all. But it's not overly rendered where it gets to where you don't see the artwork like some comics get. But yeah, it's nice. It's a beautiful book.
Have you ever had a conversation with Cliff Chang, Ashley?
No, I've never met Cliff Chang.
Oh,
dang, okay.
Not yet.
I'm trying to do a running tab if folks have met. Folks have
Neil Gaiman, Frank Miller.
All right, folks, that was Catwoman, Lonely City, DC Black Label book. Thank you so much, Ed, for that. And since we're on the topic of best new comics, I asked our good friend Ben Kingsbury, the owner of Jacksonville's premier shop, Gotham City Limit, to chime in with a list of his top 3 new comics, either starting or coming out next month. So let's go and cue up the music and share what's on his list this week. First up is Batman number 118. It comes out December 7th. The Fear State series is over, and a new creative team is taking over the title. Superstar writer Joshua Williamson and artist Jorge Molina, which to me is already an automatic sell. It's the start of a new story arc as Batman leaves Gotham in Abyss Part 1. Ben chimed in and said it's the perfect jumping on point for new Batman readers. Next up is Elektra, Black, White, and Blood, number 1 of 4. Comes out December 8th. Elektra is the best assassin in the Marvel Universe. That's no secret there. And now we get to see her in all of her bloody glory. The series will be a weekly anthology series, much like Wolverine, Black, White, and Blood, and Deadpool, Black, White, and Blood. That came out last year. As you can see, it looks like Marvel is just too lazy to pick other colors. So they're just making everyone a Black, White, and Blood series. But the Wolverine one was a lot of fun. Every issue was contained multiple stories by different writers and artists.
Kind of like the Batman Black and White.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was basically biting that. But it seems like both Marvel and DC are doing a lot of these anthology stories. You had the Superman Red, White, and Blue, I think.
There's the Wonder Woman Red, White,
Black,
Gold.
White. Yeah,
Black, White, Gold.
My colors are all mixed up.
Yeah.
Look,
There was a
Elektra,
Harley
Black,
one,
White.
I think.
Yeah, exactly. Elektra, Black, White, and Blood, another anthology series coming out December. I'll probably check that out because some of the covers look great, and I'm sure that some of my favorite artists and writers are going to be involved.
Those are fun too if you're intimidated by like any comic history. They're just fun little
easy things to pick
if you
up.
have short attention spans. Perfect. And they're usually like top tier talent.
Exactly. And then last on Ben's list is Geiger, 80-page giant. It's coming out December 1st. This is the creator-owned series by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank that Image published last year. I'm quoting Ben here. He says, "It's one of my personal favorite new comic series since I opened my shop, and Geiger returns in this oversized one-shot." So check that out if you haven't. Those are Ben's top 3 comics that you should consider putting on your pull list before they sell out. As you can tell, Ben has a knack for this kind of thing. I mean, the guy owns a great shop, so you should definitely take his word for it. Don't sleep on any of these titles. Get them on your pull list ASAP. Go to your local comic shop and put them on your pull list before the final order cutoff date of November 8th. With that being said, that marks the end of our first half Shortbox Nation. We're going to go on a quick music break. We'll be back with my favorite parts of the show. Listener emails. We got some more folks that chimed into our spooky season prompt, so we'll be reading those. And of course, we got champion season coming up. And for today's music break, we'll be taking it back to some music by one of our original music team members. This beat comes from Mecca the Marvelous. He's got a new single and video dropping later this week called Backseat. So here's the instrumental for it. Kick back, relax. We'll be right back. Enjoy. Once again, the music you just heard was by Mecca the Marvelous. That was the instrumental to his new single dropping later this week, Backseat. Check that out on your favorite music streaming service like Spotify or Apple Music, or check out his Bandcamp. There's a link for that in our show notes. We're going to get to reading some emails. I got plenty of emails that came in the week that we took off. And a few of them are following up on our prompt from earlier this month. What if the short box was a horror movie? We're actually recording this episode on Halloween, so all of this stuff comes in at a good time. Granted, it's going to be released November 3rd, so the spooky season will be over by the time you're hearing this. But I want to go ahead and give a big shout-out to everyone that participated. So let's go ahead and get this thing started, man. I've got 3 submissions for the spooky season and then 1 regular email that we'll read. The first one comes from Errol White, a.k.a. Sergeant White. Big shout-out to you, Sergeant White. The email is titled SBJs. He writes, "Good afternoon, Shortbox. The Green Lantern episode was amazing, and the intro was really good. Glad to hear that Cesar actually does work." As you can tell, Errol, he is not working today, so hold that compliment. But he continues, "I'm looking forward to catching up on the Unite the Seven series, especially the Batman episode by Wednesday Pull List. When I heard of the challenge, a scenario immediately popped into my head. This isn't for the drawing, just sharing. I think someone with better appreciation for the Lantern should get the hardback, but I wanted to share this. I'm sure you'll have seen the series, so I won't spell everything out, but I will set the scene, and you can mentally finish it out. The Shortbox crew can earn a way out of their sorry, pathetic, and broke-ass lives and win life the kind of money that could change their lives forever. Squid Game Jacks. Well, that's very appropriate.
Yes, winner.
That's very appropriate. I don't know if I established in the beginning good enough that Ashley showed up in a Squid Games inspired outfit. So if you've seen the show, which Ashley, I took your recommendation and finished it in like a day.
Wow.
Great show.
You did watch it?
Great show.
Man.
But Ashley showed up in an outfit 101. She is a Squid Game player 101. But anyways, back to this email. So Squid Game Jacks. Enter Cesar, a degenerate gambler living with his mom and unable to support his daughter. Ashley just trying to get enough money to provide for her and her brother who's in an orphanage. Edmund is an immigrant working hard manual labor to provide for his wife and child.
Yeah.
Oh, Ed, you got a secret family in his house.
No.
That's nice.
Drew is a JU educated hedge fund douche who lost a lot of money for his firm and is hiding, avoiding JSO. Lastly, we have Botter, a lonely old man with a brain tumor looking for one last thrill before he passes on.
This is horrible.
Keep up the great work, Errol. I don't know. I kind of like these our Squid Game personas here. I think the most accurate one is Cesar's, a degenerate gambler living with his mom, unable to support his daughter. Hey, get a job, you bum.
He never talks about his daughter.
True.
Yeah.
It sounds like we all got, secret lives. Now, granted, I'm one to speak. I've got, the 5 kids in Bulgaria I haven't talked to in a minute.
I do have a younger brother.
I didn't know that.
I did not know that.
No.
Oh.
Well, I don't know why I thought this whole time that you were an only child.
Yeah, me too.
So wait, you have a younger brother who also wasn't able to watch cartoons growing up? Or did your parents become more relaxed when he was born?
No, he went through the same thing. Yeah. But the difference was I was like that weird goth kid in high school and he was super cool. Like I would drive him to school and he'd make me drop him off like a block away. No joke.
Did he change his last name at school? Did he go by like a different last name?
Ike Harris.
That's good. Thank you for the email, Errol. All right, thank you for the email, Errol. Moving on to our next email. This one comes from T-Mix. I guess he heard Cesar's plead for another email last episode. But this one is titled Spooky Season. There's like 7 O's in here. But he starts it off with, Yo! What's up, Shortbox? So what if the Shortbox was a horror movie? What kind would it be? That's a tough question, but here's my awful elevator pitch. Essentially, it's Pan's Labyrinth meets The Conjuring with shades of Junji Ito sprinkled throughout. The story follows an 8-year-old Botter whose family just moved into a new house in Jax. The house, of course, is haunted, where hundreds of years ago lived a Satanist that routinely performed human sacrifices. Botter's dad becomes possessed by the ancient demon that the Satanists worshipped. Botter begins to notice objects moving on their own, things being relocated. A week later, after living there, a pair of ghost hunters, Ed and Ashley, show up surprised that a new family has moved into this locally known haunted house. They give Botter instructions for how to travel to the underworld to save his family, and on the instructions, there's a spiral. That night at 3 a.m., Botter wakes up and starts the ritual, sending him to the underworld, where he meets a fawn, which is Cesar, that gives him 2 tasks to complete in order to exorcise the demon. The first task, Botter has to go through a spiral labyrinth and retrieve a black crucifix. The second task, Botter must travel back to Jax to his dad's favorite comic, burn it, and bring back the ashes to Cesar. Botter is successful, returns to Cesar, who now has spirals appearing on his skin. Cesar takes the ashes and black crucifix and performs a ritual. It ends with the demon being exorcised for then Botter to start obsessing over spirals. We see the ghost hunters in the distance smiling as their eyes turn into spirals. Cheers. T-Mix. I see you really leaned in into my newfound fear of spirals. True story. I was up at Whole Foods over the weekend, walking by like the seafood and meats aisle, and they sell fucking snails, or I guess
escargot.
Okay, well, escargot. Well, I mean, I didn't know that escargot was like the whole fucking snail.
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just got really freaked out because I did not stop thinking about the spirals on it.
Oh man.
Yeah. But I ordered them anyways.
Just eating them by the handful on the way home.
That was a good one. I like that last scene.
That was a good one.
Like,
All right,
that was
T-Mix.
pretty good.
All right. Yeah, we got some strong competitors this week. All right, and we got one more for the submission. This one comes from RC Gamut, good friend RC. He writes, "Hello, Shortbox crew. I wanted to try my hand at writing a horror prose for all of you. So bear with me if this is a bit lengthy. Here goes. It's Sunday evening, and the Shortbox crew has gathered to record an episode. As Ed, C, and Ashley chatter around the recording space in the background about the latest Lovecraftian horror comic, Botter's standing off to the side opening fan mail. One particular unmarked package catches Botter's eyes, and he opens it. He finds it is a creator-owned comic. No credit to an artist or writer. However, just a rendering of Botter on the cover and homage to The Flash number 163 and the words, 'Stop, don't open this issue, your life depends on it,' in word balloons. Intrigued, Botter begins pursuing the pages and lands on a couple panels. Several panels in particular show Ed, C, and Ashley sitting at the recording space, but drawn wearing the same attire they currently have on. A chill goes down Botter's spine as he realizes that the dialogue in the comic is eerily matching the conversation being had by his friends a couple feet away. Botter flips to the last page of the comic. The panel shows the Shortbox crew unconscious on the floor with a dark, unknown figure standing over them in the hallway. With hands trembling, Botter slowly glances up. 'Don't worry, it's only fiction, right? Thanks.' And that is RC Gamut, ending it on a cliffhanger there. All right, so I'm going to look to, first of all, thank you, T-Mix, thank you, Errol, thank you,
good.
RC.
They're all good.
For the submissions. But we can only pick one winner to get a copy of this Gotham City Limit shop exclusive variant of Walking Dead number 24. So I'm going to look to you, Ed and Ashley. Who wins? Who's got the best, who delivered the best story based on our short box horror movie prompts?
I like the T-Mixes.
Ashley?
I think it's going to be a tiebreaker because I am unfairly biased.
Squid
I'm
Game
dressed
film.
as the cool guy with the snake tattoo from Squid
yeah.
Game, so I'm going with the Squid Game.
Well, I'm going to help you break that tiebreaker because I'm also going to vote for Errol White. Shortbox Jack's version of Squid Games, he pretty much nailed it. You know, Drew being a JU educated hedge fund douche
funny.
is pretty fucking funny. And hiding from JSO, I mean, he's got that part of his life.
That part I get. That part, yeah, for sure.
So, Errol, you congratulations. You are
T-Mix,
the winner.
I had your back, man. I'm
He
just
did.
letting you know.
He did. Don't worry. Next email, he's coming for all of us. But like I said, I want to thank everyone that contributed, and a big shout outs to our previous winner, Matches Malone. I know it was you, Derek. I figured out the mystery. He won our first instance of the prop. So, Arrow, you'll be joining the winner's circle. I'll send you this comic book to you free of charge. I'll take your shipping and handling. I'll reach out for the address. But once again, thank you, T-Mix, RC, and Arrow for the submissions. We do have one more email to read, and this one comes from our buddy Joshua Pickett. It's just titled Random Champion. What up, Shortbox? Just wanted to pop in and champion the Thundercat show at the concert hall earlier this week. It was a fun and funky show. He ends it with that. And I'm going to say this, Joshua. I was at that show too. You should have went ahead and just yelled out Shortbox in the crowd. I would have found you. But glad you enjoyed the show, and I do agree.
Where did he play?
Huh?
Where did he play?
Thundercat played at the Ponte Vedra concert hall.
Oh, okay.
Which was essentially, it just felt like a fucking school
It
gymnasium.
used to be a church, I think.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense with the football field and everything else. Got it. The show was great, though. I mean, he didn't perform none of like his major songs I wanted to hear. I mean, he did perform Dragon Ball Durag, which I was pretty hyped. But for the most part, it was him. He's a bassist, of course. His drummer and his piano guy just like riffing, like just having. They were like, hey, have you guys ever heard of this band? And maybe two people would raise their hands, and he'd be like, well, y'all should check them out, and I'm going to cover this song. And they would just do like a 10-minute version of them.
What was he wearing, like a onesie? What was he wearing?
Oh, dude, he was Thundercat. And for those unfamiliar with
Pink
Thundercat,
onesie.
he is an awesome bassist.
He's got the biggest bass I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's just epic. He is a huge anime nerd. He just looks eccentric, but he is amazing. But Ed, to answer your question, he had this this oversized blue hoodie that was essentially a Blastoise card, like the Blastoise Pokemon card, which I thought was great. And he had these like short shorts on, so it just looked like he was just wearing a hoodie.
Yeah.
And he had like these like all of this diamond encrusted hairpins in his hair, holding like his hair in place. So anytime he'd move, like it would just like sparkle, Blastoise.
Yep, he's
Yeah, it was a great show, and if you ever, I highly recommend just going on YouTube and watching
He's
any
really
of his
good.
jam sessions. So shout out to everyone that sent in some emails. I did get a voicemail from Corey Torgerson. I'm gonna play that at the end of the show just because it's a little long and I want to get to a champion season. But Corey, we got you, and thank you for the submission. It's actually a really good champion based on like the Halloween and spooky season. But with all that being said, it's time to wrap up this episode of our last recurring segment, the longtime staple that is our champion season.
Champion Season.
Champion Season is the part of the show where we highlight other worthwhile entertainment and recommendations that we feel deserves your attention. These could be much more than comics, but include our movie picks, TV series, books, or video games, and anything else that we're hyped on this week. This segment is brought to you by Black Hive Tattoo, Jacksonville's premier appointment-only custom tattoo studio. If you're searching for a group of talented artists who will work with you to bring your comic cultures to life, then look no further. Go to blackhivetatattoo.com and sign up for their newsletter to find out when they're taking new project requests. Squid Game Player 101, I'm going to go ahead and let you kick us off this week. What are you going to champion?
I've actually got another Netflix show that was really good, Midnight Mass. If anyone's seen it.
Nope, I'm looking at it right now.
So it's limited series. I think it had something to do with either the same producer or writers as the ones that did like that Haunting on Hill House those series.
Yeah.
This I think is the best one so far, but it's about this like little town, and they have this new priest that comes to town, and it quickly turns into like a monster movie, which I didn't think it was going to be.
Yeah, it does look like a monster.
So it starts out like you're like, oh, I've heard a lot of things about the show. Everyone told me to watch it. It's kind of boring, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, like the hook happens, and you're like, this is amazing. It was really, really good.
And it's only 7 episodes.
Yeah, and the one guy, he was in Legion. I don't know if you guys watched Legion, but his name, he plays the priest, Hamish Linklater. I've only ever seen him on Legion and then this, but he's just very, very dynamic. He kind of stole the show for me. But it's really worth a watch if you have Netflix. It's
Actually,
so good.
I mean, your Squid Games recommendation was on point, and I forget what the other 2 were prior, but I feel like your streaming recommendations are always really, really good. So this one's right up there with it.
Yeah, because I don't watch a lot of TV, but I put a lot of TV on like while I work. So I've seen stuff that like I don't like that I won't champion, but if I like put my stuff down and pay attention, then I'm like, well, I'm not getting work done, but like this is really good.
Okay.
I was going to ask you if that was Clive Barker, but it's Midnight Meat Train is Clive Barker.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Not
I don't
Midnight
remember.
Mass.
I saw that in theaters. I don't remember why. I think I just like the name.
No, everyone who watches that doesn't understand why they watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a strange one.
All right. Ed, what about you? What do you got in champion today?
I'm going to champion. I just got this Charles Burns Last Look. It is one of my favorite artists, Charles Burns. He usually works in black and white. He's done, I guess, his more popular books is Black Hole. But this is, it's hard to describe. It's kind of like a David Lynch movie, if it was a comic. And it's a simple story with a lot of surreal elements. So it's basically this kind of art school douchey kid in his relationships with, and basically it shows different stages in his life. It goes back and forth and how he kind of deals with, he has like issues with his dad, and he had this girlfriend who had a lot of, I guess a lot of baggage, so to speak, and how he handles that. If I explain the story, it's pretty, it's like a pretty straightforward, drama. And, but he adds this, he changes his style. So he has his usual, almost like a lot of blacks, a lot of very dark style to like a kind of a Hergé Tintin style that he switches back and forth with when he's kind of in his like when he's dreaming, or when he's in he has a lot of like drug issues, or he's kind of his subconscious. He gets transported into this like surreal Tintin-ish world with weird creatures and stuff. There's not a lot of action, but it's just so strange and so well done. Like the art is pretty incredible, and like I said with the like Cliff Chang, it's like very simple, flat colors that really highlight the artwork, and very weird. Like I said, if you like David Lynch and that kind of brand of strangeness, this is definitely worth checking up. It was originally released as 3 hardbacks, but they released this paperback where all three books are in one collection now. So definitely, if you're, like I said, kind of like an underground comic fan, David Lynch fan, just definitely check it out.
All right, good stuff. You got anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Bet. All right, so my champion is going to be short and sweet. I just got one for this week, and I feel like it is it's an easy one. It's Dune. All right.
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
Dune has been on my mind since I've seen it. Since I went to go see it in theaters opening night, and I feel like much like today's main topic about the Eternals, it just felt massive in scale. It felt like every actor was bringing their A+ game. Like Timothy Chalamet, is that how you say his last name?
Yeah, Chalamet.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
Rebecca Ferguson was amazing. Oscar Isaac, I feel like this is what Star Wars wanted to do with him, but dropped the ball.
Star Wars has a lot of Dune influences from Dune.
For sure,
So,
for sure.
yeah.
So it only felt even more rewarding to see Oscar Isaac like absolutely get it right in this one.
I'm curious because I'm not familiar with Dune. Like I wonder what he thinks. And I've heard almost across the board that it's even people who don't like Dune or not familiar with it. It's an excellent movie. Some people said it's boring, but I've seen the other stuff they like, so it's it's not like
shut up.
Yeah, it's not.
Shut up, Meg.
Yeah, exactly. It's not Michael Bay
But look,
explosions.
it's like
boring.
I mean, the chemistry was there. I mean, and like I said, Oscar Isaac, Rebecca Ferguson, Timothy Chalamet,
Isn't
Jason Momoa.
Is he Duncan, Idaho?
Is he Duncan, Idaho?
Okay, that's just crazy.
Wait, Ed, have you seen it? I don't want.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Well, I don't think
You can
that's what
spoil
I'm
it.
going to say here. Can spoil it. But Jason Momoa is fan-fucking-tastic in this movie. And then, of course, Stellan Skarsgård? Is that? Stellan Skarsgård, who plays the Baron, is so fucking freaky.
Yeah.
That dude is...
That's the fat guy, right?
Yeah, I was having nightmares of him. But the cinematography is beautiful. And, and the Hans Zimmer score makes you feel like you are immersed in this world that they've created. I watched it for the first time, like I said, in theaters. Got to see it in like Dolby Cinema, so the sound was extra loud. And you
never read Dune, right?
No, and I tried. I had a goal to read it before the movie came out.
It's
I
a
just got
tough
too
read.
busy.
It's not an easy read.
Well, Cesar and a few people have recommended I just check out the audiobook because the audiobook's done really well. So I honestly, after watching this movie, I still have plans to go read it, especially knowing that this movie was only like part 1 of 2 of the first book, and there's 3 books in total by the original writer, and et cetera, et cetera. But I couldn't stop raving about it. After I seen it in theaters, I was all for recommending to people to go see it in this giant scale that is the theater. But I ended up watching it for the second time on HBO Max last night, and I gotta say, watching it with closed captions and a decent sound system was just as fun, if not more impactful. And I'm excited to see this saga continue. Like, it's one of those movies you leave and you feel something like, wow, this is...
And they've greenlighted 2, so 2's on it.
Yeah, which I'm not... I mean, everyone was like, is it going to get a part 2? It's like, yes,
of course, yeah.
Zendaya only said 10 lines. She's definitely coming back to get her, earn her paycheck. But amazing movie. Ashley, did you go see it?
Yeah, I saw it. I liked Javier Bardem. I don't think Man on Your List, he was so good. But it had that, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but it had that Lord of the Rings feel when you get to the end and you're like, oh, what?
They only scratched the surface.
Yeah, you're like, come on, man. Like, I want like 4 more hours of this.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's very exposition heavy. Like, nothing is really going on in that beginning. It's slow, but that second half where, we finally get like some of the action scenes coming in and things get to moving. It's like from there on, to me, you just cannot take your eyeballs off it. But I guess I enjoy like the way they presented all the information in the world they were setting up was fascinating to me. I didn't mind the pace at all. So yeah, Dune will be my one and only champion. I highly recommend. If you haven't seen it yet, man, do yourself a favor and catch it any way you can. So that kind of brings us almost to the end of our champion season. I got one more champion to share. It comes from our good friend and sponsor of this show, Nick Wagner, the head honcho of Black Hive Tattoo. Earlier this month, we challenged Nick to provide his best Halloween-themed recommendations. Once again, by the time this episode comes out, Halloween will be a thing of the past. But, we're recording on Halloween, so to me, it only amplifies today. So it's only right that we close out the month with his last recommendation from him. So here's Nick Wagner closing out this champion season segment.
Hey guys, Nick Wagner from Black Hive Tattoo with this week's pick. Staying with the Halloween October theme, this one's going to be a movie. I know we're concentrating on books, but I just love this one. I watch it every year. And I don't know that too many people that know about it. It's called Trick or Treat. And if you're looking it up, that's an R in the middle. Trick, R, Treat. It's got the woman who played Rogue in the original X-Men movie. And it's an horror anthology, but it ends up making one overarching story if you're paying attention. Kind of a weird, out of order thing until it all ties together. But a bunch of cool individual stories and one big cool story arc. So check it out, especially if you want to scare the hell out of your kids. All right. Have a good one.
That is very good. That's one of my favorite Halloween movies.
I don't think kids should watch that.
Well, there's
Well, said if you wanted to scare the shit out of them.
little kids are the heroes. They end up killing those guys. Remember, little kids.
Yeah, but I guess depending
not-
on the age,
I mean,
it's a good movie. I like it a lot.
You could be like, this is what you could aspire to be one day, little kid.
It is cool because it is an anthology that does wrap around as a complete overall story.
that's cool.
So it's really cool because I think it's really well done. I don't think it's too bad. I don't know. I don't have kids, so I have no frame of reference. So I don't think the gore is that upsetting to where I wouldn't let like a 6-year-old or something watch it, but
Yeah.
like a tween or 10 up. I don't know. Is that wrong? Am I an irresponsible parent?
Ashley,
No.
would you also give it a thumbs up?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's one of the ones that I watch every year.
What's the guy's name? The little pumpkin-headed guy.
I don't know.
Yeah, that guy's
He's
awesome.
so creepy.
He's such a cool character. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nick, for chiming in. And that brings us to the end of the show. Shortbox Nation, hopefully you learned a thing or two about Eternals, or you left this, or you're leaving this episode with a greater appreciation for Jack the King Kirby. I'm going to look to you, Ed and Ashley, and tell me one thing that you learned after recording this episode. What's one thing that you're leaving this episode with? Ed?
Oh, like I said, the thing you brought up with the Stanley introducing him at the convention. Yeah, that was pretty cool. A bit of trivia I didn't know about that.
Anytime, I mean, like the relationship is so rocky, and you always hear like the bad parts. Anytime that like, I feel like you can hear like one of those stories where they got along during like post, Golden Age Marvel. I think is always like worthy to share. Ashley, what about you? What you learned this episode?
So I learned through Ed that Carcass is the greatest character in the Eternals. Probably didn't make it into the movie, but
he's like a big giant baby with metal pants.
Yes,
he's red.
number one.
Look, if Carcass is not in this movie, there's no way this movie can hit 4 stars.
No,
automatically.
If he's not at least in the post credits, Carcass and Reject. Yeah, I'll be very disappointed.
Well said. Well, look, there you have it, Shortbox Nation. Thank you for hanging out this week. Let's keep praising the King of Comics at that. Tell us about your favorite Jack Kirby creation or comic book, or tell us what you think about the Eternals movie if you end up seeing it before our next podcast. You can creep into our DMs on social media or send us a short email to read next episode. You can write us at theshortboxjacks@gmail.com. And speaking of our next episode, comic book artist and colorist extraordinaire Nick Filardi will be joining the show to talk about his new series, Justice League Infinity, as well as recounting his time working on the original Umbrella Academy comic series and more. The interview will drop next Wednesday, but if it's too long for you to wait, check out the latest episode of our spin-off podcast, Pilot's License. If you love classic comic book cartoons and animated shows as much as we do, the series is for you. We just dropped an episode all about Batman Beyond. You can check that out, as well as all of our bonus episodes over on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/theshortbox to sign up, or just click the link in our show notes. And also, don't forget about our live show. We're doing a live show Friday, December 10th at the Museum of Science and History here in Jacksonville, Florida, which is Mosh. We'll have tickets available in a few days. After this episode posts, in a few days, we'll have information for tickets. Those will be free, but they'll be limited, so they'll probably go quick. So stay tuned to our social media. In the meantime, give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter if you haven't, and most importantly, take care of yourselves. Have a great day, and please continue to make mine and yours Shortbox. We'll talk to you soon. I'm gonna go ahead and let Corey Tortison see us out this episode. We've got, like I said, that voicemail that he sent in with a really good Halloween themed champion. So until then, peace.
What up, Shortcasters? It's your boy Corey coming at you from the West Coast of Florida. I wanted to put in my 2 cents for horror reading recommendations. Now, I feel like I've reached a point in life where body horror doesn't usually cut it anymore. Enjoyable, sure, but not impactful. Nay, I say, impending reality seems to be more terrifying than anything found in your local slasher film. Sometimes extended silence and extremely awkward close-ups are what induce anxiety. And with that, I want to recommend the manga Blood on the Tracks by Oshimi Shuzo. It's currently 5 volumes deep and still running, but so far it's entirely psychological. Volume 1 is very upfront about this being a pretty screwed up relationship between a mother and her son, and not in the sexy way. It's not action-packed, and a lot of the disturbing events seem to come and go unnoticed, which makes it all the more disturbing when you're looking for answers, but it seems like nobody else is, especially when they're being impacted by this. Hopefully in the next week, I'll have another recommendation. Until then, keep mine and yours Spookbox.